Hello, happy people. This is Mr. Wilcox coming to you from my kitchen table. This will be our second video on derivatives. So I have a couple more rules for you, and then we will do some examples and have you on your way. So our rules here, our new rules for the day are the derivative of x equals 1. So yesterday when we were taking the derivative, we were bringing down that 1, making it x to the 0 and changing it to 1. Now we can go straight to the 1. And the derivative of e to the x is e to the x. And so the other thing that's new is d over dx means to take the derivative, just like putting that little dash. So going back up to the x is 1, I just want to do one more example here quick. So if we had f of x is equal to 4x cubed plus x, for the 4x cubed, we would bring our 3 down out front, multiply it by our 4, and subtract 1 from our 3 to get x squared. And now for our x, we did all that work yesterday, but now we can just write 1. So our derivative here would be 12x squared plus 1. All right. So that just saves us some work. And again, e to the x is a new one. So the derivative anytime you have e to the x, it stays e to the x. All right, so let's do our first example. Our first example is g of x equals x cubed over 3 minus 4x squared over 5 plus x over 4 plus 3. So the reason we're doing an example like this is so I can show you that it is easier to change our function, our original function. So we're not going to do anything with the derivative right away. What we're going to do is we're going to change the division to fractional exponents. So another way to write x cubed over 3 is 1/3 times x cubed. And another way to write 4x squared over 5 is 4/5 times x squared. And another way to write x over 4 is 1/4 times x, and we'll keep the plus 3. So now we're ready to use our rule from yesterday to find our derivative. So the derivative of g of x, if we take that 3 and we pull it down out front and we multiply it, 1/3 of 3 is 1. So we're going to have 1x, or just x. And then 3 minus 1 is 2. So the derivative of 1/3 x cubed is x squared. All right, moving on to our negative 4/5 x squared. If I bring my 2 down out front and multiply it out, I'll get minus 8/5 x, and then 2 minus 1 is 1, or x to the first. And we'll have 1/4 times x. So we learned our derivative of x today is 1. So 1/4 times 1 is 1/4. And then our derivative of any constant is 0. So our derivative of g of x is x squared minus 8/5 x plus 1/4. Right? So turning that division into coefficients that are fractions makes this easier, because you can multiply that fraction by the number that you're bringing down. All right, so our second example is going to throw roots in there. We don't like roots, remember, but hopefully you remember from Algebra 2 how to turn roots back into fractional exponents. So there is a hidden 1 on my 5th root out there, and there's a hidden 1 on my 4th root here. So I have the 5th root of x plus 3 4th roots of x plus 2. And so to turn a root back into an exponent power, you write what's under the radical. So we have x, maybe it'll show up, x to the, and then it's always to the number outside over our index of our radical. So 1/5. Sorry, hang on. Let's see if I can get this to show up better. So it's y plus, and then we're going to have 3, and then what's under the radical is x to the number outside is 1 over our index, which is 4. And then we have plus 2. So now we're ready to take our derivative. So if we do our derivative of here, we're going to bring our 1/5 down. So we're going to get 1/5 of x to the, and 1/5 minus 1 is negative 4/5. And if I bring my 1/4 down and multiply it by my 3, I get 3/4. And 1/4 minus 1 is negative 3/4. And then the derivative of 2, remember, is 0. So our derivative in the end, remember we don't want negative power, so we're going to put them on the 0. So we're going to have on the 0 on the bottom. So we're going to have 1 over 5x to the 4/3, or 4/5, excuse me, plus 3 over 4x to the 3/4. So we have positive powers, we have fractions. That is our answer. All right, I have one more example for you, and then I'll... All right, here's our last example. Our last example is going to show you what happens if we are multiplying. So if we're multiplying here, we can't take the derivative until we got rid of the parentheses. So remember, in order to get rid of the parentheses, I'm going to box or FOIL. So if I box or FOIL this equation out, I'm going to get f of x is equal to, and 2x times 3x is 6x squared. 5 times 3x is 15x minus 2x. So I'm going to get plus 13x in the middle. And 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. Right. So just box or FOIL that out. And after you're done with that, you can take the derivative. So the derivative of 6x squared, if we bring our 2 down and multiply it by our 6, we get 12. And then we're going to get x to the 2 minus 1 is the first. If we bring our 1 down, it's 13. And x to the 0, remember, is just 1 minus 0. So our derivative for our problem here ends up being 12x plus 13. So I hope this helps with your derivatives. Remember, if you're having any issues, to contact me. I hope you're all happy. I hope you're all healthy. And I hope you all have a great day.